Hey, welcome to Nothing Ventured, Nothing Aim. I'm your host with the most, your GM Jared, and today I'm joined by Zach.
What's up, guys?
Who is playing Artura in our conversion of Wrath of the Righteous, but we're converting it to second edition rules because originally it was first edition and we really liked the campaign. So we were like, we're going to convert it because we hate ourselves. So stick around as we jump into this character dive into the Artura character. We are a few sessions in. So if you're listening to this, we are like 3 sessions in at this point. And Artura has kind of, I think of in terms of alignment, right? So I could place everyone's alignment. Like Henny is chaotic neutral. Connor is more lawful neutral, as Steve tends to play this very like neutral based character. But Artura is more chaotic neutral because if you get to listen to our campaign, there was a session where basically one of the characters, the NPCs that the party dislikes, goes to Artura and is like, I will give you money if you keep me safe from everyone else. And Artura was like, okay. So how do you feel about that assessment? Is Artura chaotic neutral? Are they?
I feel like that is a good assessment because I think it's kind of like a sliding scale on the chaotic side of between good and evil and tends to stick in neutral most of the time. Yeah, I mean, like they are looking out for themselves because for a long time that's the only person they've had, and they've kind of like, you know what, that's it. Like, I'm just gonna make sure I'm good. I'm gonna make sure everyone else is good too, but I'm focused on me, and then everyone else.
And then everyone else.
Yeah.
So what would you say is Artura's best quality?
He's a charismatic goofball. I've kind of come to play him as, which is funny, as a 18-year-old. He like emulates the smooth talking that he sees coming from Henny, and then he tries to be all like big and tough like Connor and Nell, and then he tries to act smart like Sortok. And so it's like he kind of like sees how everyone else is going, and is like, well, I gotta kind of have like figure myself out too. But he is definitely like I would, if you're gonna go by anything, he is the face in all characteristics. I mean, yes, Becking charisma is the highest stat, but also like he just loves to talk. So,
do you see Artura? Because like Artura is this character who is very young. And ironically, as a GM, you guys sent me your character sheets, and I glanced at them in passing. What's Artura's wisdom score? I feel like if you're playing a young character, you should like dump it. Like it should be like an 8.
It's not high. It's not an 8. It's not an 8. Because when I play casters, I tend to focus, unless I do something stupid like my Goblin Monkey Bard, I pretty much like dump all like smart stats except for the major like casting stat. But for Artura, I was like, you know what, like, because of everything that's kind of happened to him and how his magic kind of came out of him, which I guess we should mention at this point, Artura is a sorcerer. If you haven't listened to the podcast, we kind of talked about it last week. Artura is a shadow sorcerer. I mean, I'm not going to go into details about how he gets this magic, but he gets this magic and he's kind of feeling it out because he was never always a magic user. He didn't know how to do any of this. He was a farm boy for years. And his family just up in like one bad winter and his whole family's dead. Like, he's like, all right, well, I guess I'm on my own. I got all this money from selling the farmhouse. Yeah, I'm out.
Artura had all that money. I would like to point out in our first episode, Artura has 0 gold. 0.
Yes, no. During character creation, I was so meticulous with my spending that I spent to the exact 0 amount of starting gold. No silver, no copper left over. Because I bought the most expensive clothes and as many potions as I could possibly get along with the starting pack. Because I was like, I just need the basics and that's it. I don't need armor. I get a dagger with the starting pack. Hand crossbows, I'm good. I don't need to worry about this. So that's how I'm kind of playing it off. Like he's smart. He's kind of smart. So I didn't change wisdom from 10. Like gives him room to grow, but he's not like a complete idiot. Like he does have a terrible perception. Not gonna lie. Mm-hmm. I think it's a 3. It's really low.
Yeah.
But like he's kind of smart. He's very charismatic. He's got like a tiny bit of constitution, dexterity, and strength in him, just because like why not? This is stuff that he needs, you know.
Yeah.
So. Wisdom has room for growth, though.
Wisdom. Talking about casters and sorcerers and how you and Jeff are kind of the main casters in the party.
Yeah.
Jeff being the wizard and you playing the sorcerer. How do you see yourself as a caster? Are you kind of like the blowy up type, or are you the utility knife, or are you more like self, defensive, right? Because those are like how you would play a caster, more or less.
So far during the game, what we've seen of Artura's magic has been very offensively defensive, I would say, because like he always reacts to something happening to him, more or less. So like in the first, in like the prequel, I would say, he gets the arrow shot into him, and he's like, well, fuck, I guess. And now I have an arrow, so I have ammunition, telekinetic projectile it at an enemy, rip it out of me. But then like with his bloodline powers, like that focus around like shadows and everything, those are all like anytime you use a spell that's that's tagged with the word shadow, it essentially does something to me. Like my focus point, bloodline spell, is a reaction based on the fact that I did something and now I can hide. I instantly can like hide until the end of the turn, which gives me enough time to find cover. So it's like an extra bonus action in between like movement and stuff. So I think as we go further on, we're gonna see his utility. I know I expect him with more utility kind of spells, but we haven't really gotten into situations where I wasn't the immediate target of things. So far, we've had 3 fights, and I have gotten I've gotten injured in all of them.
One, you got KO'd. I downed you in the boss fight.
You did down me against the what was it?
Cave Fisher.
Cave Fisher. I almost said cave crawler. I'm like, that's not it.
I feel like it could be. They do crawl around on the roofs of the caves and stuff. So, question I asked everyone else, I would like to ask you. Who would Artura want to sit down to have dinner with? Out of like all of our campaign characters and everyone, who do you think Artura would want to like have a mead with, or a wine in Artura's case?
Funnily enough, Artur. No, Jeff's character. Is that Artur or Artare?
I believe it was Artare.
Then there we go. Artare. I feel like the way Jeff played his rogue in season 1 of Rise of the Rune Lords, basically is kind of the same kind of demeanor that Artura tries to give off. And so it's like having dinner with them, he would be like, oh yeah, I can see myself kind of doing some of this stuff. You know, I was like, and some of like Artura's skills are like weirdly, why do you have points in that? I have thievery. I have stealth. But it might be the fact that like later on down the line, maybe because I'm a human, there's that human heritage trait or ancestry ability where you can spec in another class after a certain level. So who knows? Maybe I'll take that. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll go rogue. Maybe just full sorcerer and just see what the hell happens.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's the magic sort of rogue that's out there, but that one is a bit confusing.
Yeah.
So that's also an option you can look into. Multi-classing.
Yeah, I was wondering like what, but at the same time, I'm trying to do my best not to like step on any in Fabio's toes because Fabio's playing a swashbuckler, which and with his specific skill set, he's kind of already close to an arcane trickster in a way, just the sheer fact of how swashbuckler kind of works and with his card tricks and everything. So I'm like, maybe not. But like this is all stuff that I'm gonna be fleshing out over the course of the season, as long as I survive. Here's the thing, I've almost died so far. It's a good thing I have Die Hard as an innate ability, because otherwise I would have been dead first episode.
Yeah, Die Hard really saved your tuchus. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's hard being that. Do you think because of that encounter with the Cave Fisher, you might talk to Connor about how to possibly wear armor and then take a feat for like armor to grab like some light armor?
Nah.
Here's
the thing, which is funny because I can't even use mage armor, like because of my my bloodline, my whatever spellcasting family is. I forget what it's called. Like I think I have divine magic.
Oh, okay.
So I can't use
mage armor.
It's divine or occult. But either way, because of that, I can't use mage armor. One of the reasons mage armor is not in my spell list.
Your spell
and
list,
I'm just like, I'm going to die.
You're like, I got nothing.
Otherwise, I would have taken it at first level. But it's like, I got nothing. I got, like I said, I got a couple utility spells that are good for actually helping the rest of the party. I did stuff to just I took Bane and Bad Omen.
Oh, those are really
Ill
powerful.
Omen, Ill Omen. So those are good. Those are good as long as like the enemy doesn't make their saves or whatever. It's just good. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So I guess, how do you feel Artura is playing out in the group right now? How do you feel Artura is, because as a young character, right? Do you feel Artura has that like I have to prove myself mentality, or are they just like I have to make sure I don't get stabbed again because that hurt?
I think it's leaning more towards the second one. Each time he is the most beat up at the end of the fight. I have this penchant for making spellcasters that are like glass cannons and then also being front and center in a fight for some dumb reason. So like I'm doing my best to try and like figure it out now, but still it's like we in all fights we've had so far, it's just there's been no hope for me.
It's been pretty rough. I feel like Artura needs to hang out with Sortek, just all the way in the back, just hanging out.
Definitely, that's how it's actually going to be going down the next fight. This is like no matter what happens. Well, that was the whole thing. I put myself in the back just to be safe, and then I got yoked in the back. I was like, "Yeah, I'm kidding me."
That is true. You did. You were back there, and then you got like it got you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna blame Tina on that one. So Tina, if you're listening, that was Tina's fault. She rolled you, right? Like I was like, I rolled a D6.
That was it. She rolled me. Yeah.
I was, obviously you don't want the first person to get like grabbed as like the GM, right? Like you want the surprise, But
Yeah.
also, you don't want the back character to get grabbed because that's the character that you could theoretically get TPK'd and no one would know.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that was the whole thing. Is like you started telling me is like the and I was already hurt from the first fight. I didn't heal up. We didn't stop, and I wasn't like. And in that time, I was like, oh, I should take a potion. And I was like, now wait. Like I only have two. I might as well just hold on to them for a minute. I'll be fine. It's not like we're gonna get into another fight. And then the next fight was against cockroaches, and we decimated the dog-sized cockroaches. And so it was like, yeah, I'll be fine. Even if I take one hit, I'll still be okay. And then it ate through all of my temporary hit points and the remainder of my regular hit points in its first attack. And I was just like, well, well,
So, Red to the Righteous is kind of a campaign about like fighting demons, right?
mm,
And coming to term with demons and dealing with demons, right? How do you see Artura playing this campaign? Do you see them, because we really are playing close to the chest with what your character is all about, and I want that to come out in the story. So if you're watching this and you're like, why do they keep like dancing around? We're dancing around for a reason. It's a really cool surprise thing. If you're listening to the podcast or you watch us on Twitch, you probably see what's coming, but additionally you definitely don't see what's coming. So how do you think Artura is going to play out in this? Like, what do you think? I guess my question is, where do you see Artura kind of like, let's say level 5, right? Like that's kind of like a high up there, like mid campaign or mid.
So level 5, because when I make these characters, I kind of spec out 1 to 20 on Path Builder. That way, I kind of have like an idea of what I want to do. At level 5, which I thought was kind of cool, humans get the ability to kind of start to see in the dark. They have like Gloom Seer, and then further on they get like Shadow Seer or something. It's like you get like low light vision, and then you get dark vision, which I thought was kind of cool because I was like, oh, maybe I was gonna try to bring it up to you like, oh, what if somewhere down the line this actually switches me from a human to a fleshling or something. I was like, it kind of works with what's going on with the shadow bloodline stuff. But then I was like, or we keep going the route that we're going and what we envisioned, and certain things start happening to him, like minimal changes. And so the eyes are the first thing to like permanently change. Like he starts getting, and the more and more time we spend down here, the more adjusted his eyes are getting to the dark. But he's going to be spending this entire game, even level 5, fighting his own inner demon, like in all sense of the word. It's gonna be tough, and especially with my luck when I'm rolling a stupid DC 5 flat check, like it will get to the fun stuff in no time. I just hope
You
it's
really have
level
you've underrolled like every time.
I think I did okay once. Once. Listening back to the podcast helps me remember that I've only succeeded once.
Yeah, I think it was only once.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I was like, oh, it's a flat 5. He. How hard is it to roll higher than 5? You got a pretty high percentage. Terrible. Apparently,
I got nat 1 my first roll. I got a nat 1 on the first roll, and then the next time I did it, I passed, and the third time it was a 2. I was like, but yeah, no. So I think he definitely. It really depends on where they end up in the game. Like physically. I mean physically in the game. Because I don't know what to expect from Wrath of the Righteous. I don't know if we're diving deeper into the abyss and we're not coming back out because that's how the game works, or we do end up finding a way out and then we're going back in anyway. Because it might just be that he like hunkers down and he actually opens up this book and actually tries to figure out like what's written in it, and that's like all his knowledge of the abyss is in this book. Like that's his abyssal lore is just this book. And so if he doesn't like try to understand what's going on in both himself and around him, how's he going to survive any of this? But again, it's going to be like, I don't want to say utilizing, and even relying is kind of too heavy of a word in this case. But like, I guess is going to be seeking guidance from everyone else in the party because they are older than him to some degree, you know. But he, at the same time, he's very headstrong. He's been doing things kind of like on his own terms up until now. There's probably going to be a time, especially by level 5, that changes. Like he's going to be a completely like, all right, we're in this together, guys. We're here to die. We're die trying to do some good. Like that's it. And end result is death, but we either do something good or we don't do anything else. And I think if back when we were given the choice of left or right tunnel, if you didn't make the NPC character, I forget her name off the top of my head, but if you didn't make her like start just going towards it, that was actually going to be Artura's next thing. He's like, well, I'm down here. I was coming this way anyway. Well, I might as well just go.
Keep going.
It's like, you guys coming with me? Like,
yeah.
And that was it. And then he would jump back to the back of the group again because that's where the safety should have been. But yeah, no, he talks a big game and is trying to learn how to also step up to play that big game, I would say.
So, in closing, I guess, why don't you tell me a few little factoids about Artura, like something that skeeves them out.
So some factoids about, because this is actually, as much as this is a very like lighthearted character in a very dark game, I did also make everything that's kind of going through with him very grim and dark. So some factoids about him: the only scarring on his body is on his arms, from self-inflicted wounds, trying to try to figure out what was going on with him. And that's kind of how he figured out how to use some of his bloodline spells. But he doesn't like bitter food, or bitter sweets, I guess. Wait, no, something he doesn't like. He doesn't like mirrors.
Doesn't like mirrors. Okay.
He doesn't like seeing his own reflection anymore.
He doesn't like seeing his own reflection. Okay.
He knows he is beautiful.
Yeah.
But he will never look in a reflective surface to see that ever again.
He's not cool with that.
No, he ain't cool with that.
Okay. So so Artura dislikes his reflection, kind of like vampire, avoiding the mirror, and likes flowers, met the love of their life in of flowers. Yeah. Cool. So thank you, Zach, for being here with me. And thank you to everyone for listening. And hopefully you come check us out every other Wednesday on our Twitch, NVNG, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Or you could come to our webpage, nvngpodcast.com, and you could catch up on our podcast episodes if you can't catch us when we're live. So, Zach, thank you very much.
Of course. I'm happy to be here. I'm also happy I got to talk about my stupid little himbo for a minute.
Not a problem. So, have a good evening, everyone. Say bye, Zach.
Good night, guys.